I'm Gamini, real estate agent. Today I'm going to bring up expert in one of the subject that many people are struggling. And you may know that with the inflation and high cost of living, and many people are struggling with debt. You may heard that some families, some people cannot even handle $400 extra payment, and it means that if they go a little bit above 400, they are in a very bad situation. The reason is that we don't understand how to manage their budget, as well as their income may be not sometimes sufficient for their expenses. So having that knowledge is very essential. Unfortunately, that knowledge and that skill set many people don't have. People go to bank and get the advice, but they themselves don't know how to manage, right? I think today I'm going to bring an expert in this subject, and he has so many people to come out of that, and he helps people to manage their numbers. So I think that will really helpful for you. Okay, so I'm bringing the expert today, and he will definitely help you a lot to understand about this subject. Hey, Omar Stevenson is our guest today, and he's an expert, and he's a very nice person. He's helping so many people. He love to educate people. Hey, Omar, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well, Gamani. Not doing bad. Thank you so much for having me here on your platform. It's such a privilege to be able to speak with you today, my friend.
Yeah, I tell me a little bit about yourself. So I think I know a lot, but you can share with the audience.
No problem. Well, I'll start from the beginning, just a little bit. Gamani, you might not know, but I was born and raised in Jamaica.
Mhm.
So I was an immigrant to this country. I actually came here when I was 18 years old. And funny story, when I came here, when I was flying here, I was in shorts. I was in shorts, and while I was on the while I was on the flight, midway in the air, the atmosphere changed and everything was freezing. I had to
Okay.
get a blanket, and I came to this country. Like many people, it was just a vast land. I was so overwhelmed by what I saw,
Right.
and I came here and I grew up playing soccer, so I thought I was going to play soccer, but all I saw was snow that came in December. So, I got a little bit bummed out, I would say.
Mhm.
But, I was told, Gamani,
Mhm.
that, if I go into computers,
Right,
I
right,
can
right.
make good money. So that's where I started.
Right.
I went to Seneca College. I got my network administration diploma,
Uh-huh.
and while I was in school, like most people, I worked in a factory. I work inside of a factory. So very humble beginnings. I work
Okay.
inside of a factory,
Uh-huh.
and I end up working at IBM when I graduated.
Wow, it's a dream company, right? For most of the people.
Oh, for most people, it was a good, and I was fortunate too because I got in full time, full ride, full benefits.
Right,
But
right.
what happened to me, Gamani, is about 3, 4 years in, I start answering the phones in my dreams. I was waking up saying thank you for calling, and it kind of got to my mental health,
Mhm.
and I end up walking away from that company just so I could work on a smaller company.
But most of the people, if they think that if they can join IBM, they would retire in IBM, right?
You would think so, right? But I saw a lot of people come in and go, come and go, and didn't get to keep friends for a long time because most people come and they end up going.
Right, right. So, have you gone through any student loan debt or that kind of situation when you're
Oh,
beginning? Yeah.
absolutely, because again, I came here, immigrant to the country. I don't
Hmm.
have the means to go to college, so I did go on the OSAP program.
Uh-huh.
So I did my college on debt.
Hmm.
I started, I start working. I didn't have any knowledge on anything. I just thought life was just the way it is.
Right.
So I graduated school in student loan debt.
I think it is so sad, right? Many people are having so much debt, even few years after their education as well. I think some people are paying more than 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on the amount that they borrow.
For
Yeah.
for me, Gamani, I paid for a lot. As a matter of fact, my student loan ended up becoming my first bad debt, because at some point in time I wasn't paying close attention to it, and that's how I started getting affected by my student loan.
So it means there's a good debt too,
Oh yes, there is some good debts that I could talk about.
right? Yes. Tell us more about good debt and bad debt then.
Well, so the thing why I didn't understand Gamani is, I didn't understand anything about money.
Hmm.
So when I get my pay, all I wanted to do was just spend it, right? Buy more clothes,
Right.
go partying, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And I end up start borrowing more money because found myself running out of money at the end of the week, at the end of the month.
Right.
So I had to start getting credit cards and things like those. And I didn't realize that those type of debts, those end up could turn into a bad debt, because those debt does not bring me back in any money. And then I
Hmm.
get to learn that there is some good debts
Hmm.
that could produce money for me. That's
Hmm.
like if I buy a house and I have a mortgage, at
Hmm.
least my mortgage, my house builds up something called an equity,
Hmm.
and then at least that way that could bring me back some money. If I have a business and I get a loan for my business, at least my business could bring me back in some money. So when I look at good debts and bad debts, I would say a good debt is a debt where on the back end you could get back some money, and
Hmm.
a bad debt is just a debt where you're just paying out and you're not getting back any money in return.
Hmm. And it's, I think, and it's very sad, like, the colleges and the universities that banks go and sell Visa, MasterCard for students, right? They don't understand anything about money. They put them into debt in the beginning of their life, and they come out with bad credits and all the problems, right, Omar?
That's true. That's true.
Hmm.
I was one. I would say that I'm also a victim of that happening.
Hmm.
And then I get to realize, as a financial professional right now, Gamani, that the banks, that's actually how they earn their money. They earn
Hmm.
their money by being lenders, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I can't blame them. That's just the way they earn their money. So it's just I didn't learn it, I didn't know it, and most families I meet and I sit down with, they
Yeah,
don't know it as well.
yeah, that's absolutely right. Yes, many people have no clue about debt, and if someone has lot of debt right now, if they are struggling, and how can they manage, or how can they uh, reduce that debt, or how can they handle that situation, Omar?
Well, we have to go back. I would say, Gamani, we have to go back to, there might be different type of people and how they manage their debt. You might have a person that was like me, where I just didn't make enough money,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to go and borrow money at the end, on my debts, on my credits.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some people that maybe they do make a good amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just that they just don't have anything in an organized way, and
Mm-hmm.
just end up spending a lot. So, when I look at that, the first thing I wanted to do, and the first thing I would recommend to people, to anyone, is for them to just take a look at where they are, see what
Mm-hmm.
they're spending, see how their budget is like, see how much debt and how much interest they're paying.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you know where you are,
Mm-hmm.
then we can make some steps moving from there.
Okay, so that is what they should do. And what's the difference between debt and credit, Omar?
Ah, great question. Let's start with credit.
Mm-hmm.
Credit is kind of a system that the people that lend out money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So typically, people that lend out money are your banks. They're the one
Mm-hmm.
that lends out money, so they probably lend it to you on a credit card or a line of credit,
Mm-hmm.
or they lend it to you through a mortgage or any other means. So they're the lenders.
Mm-hmm.
And what the lenders do when they're ready to give me money or give a family money,
Mm-hmm.
they want to see what your history of repaying money is like.
Mm-hmm.
So they depend on a system called the credit system. Because
Mm-hmm.
every time they lend money out, it gets documented and they put it in that place. So that's what we call credit, and that gets to build up over time.
Mm-hmm.
And credit help you get better lending terms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now, what is a debt? Well, the debt is the instrument. The debt is what you go and borrow,
Mm-hmm.
and you are required. Now you're asked to be paid back the money that you borrow plus some interest.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
credits you need so you can get better terms on the debt that you're gonna get.
So they have to pay attention for their credit. That's what we are trying to say.
Yes. So the better your credit, because they put it on a scoring system.
Mm-hmm.
So the better your credit, the better the lending terms is on the debt. Right. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, let's say for example, Gamani, you and I is going to borrow some money.
Mm-hmm.
If your credit score is a little bit better than my credit score,
Mm-hmm.
you might have a better lending term than me, meaning that you might be paying back less on your debt than I will be paying on my debt. So that's the difference.
So it means I may get a better interest rate comparing to you.
That is correct. You might get, let's say, for example, you might get a 2% interest rate.
Right.
I might unfortunately get a 4% interest rate. And for the same amount, you might be paying less back than
Mhm.
what I'm paying.
Okay. So what you're trying to say is if somebody manage their money properly, if they have a better credit and they get a better terms when they borrow money.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
If you could manage and take a look at where you are, and that's why we want people to understand more about managing debt.
Mm-hmm.
Because the better you can manage your debt,
Mm-hmm.
the better your credit score rating is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and the better lending terms you could get when you start looking for those good type of debts.
Now think about that, right? If somebody don't have any education and knowledge about money, and asking them to manage their own debt and money is, I think, asking to go and do your own bypass surgery, right?
Ah, I know, eh? Well, this is where you have people like myself come
Yeah.
into play, where I could
Mhm.
really sit down
Yeah.
and take a look at what a person is doing,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I could make recommendation. I could
Right.
point you in the right directions,
Right.
and just hold your hands,
Right.
so you don't have to do that surgery. I could hold your hands and help you
Yeah, that's
get
why
over it.
rich become richer. They have financial advisors, all the advisors for them. They are thinking and working for them, and then they can do whatever they are good at it, right?
That's
That's why
true.
they
That's
become richer and richer. And I know that many people go bankruptcy. Sometimes they go consumer proposal. Sometimes they go for consolidate debt. And can you little bit explain a little bit more about that and how can people avoid going through that without getting the proper advice?
Yeah, when I sit down with families, Gamani, what I find is, sometimes when people go to those professionals, we have to realize that that's what they get paid to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they give you that as a solution, as a
Hmm.
way to solve your problem.
Hmm.
But the question is, was it the right fit?
Right.
So what we want to do is first look at all of the available debt solutions and strategies.
Hmm.
And from all the different types, all the
Hmm.
different ones, which one is the best one for me? Which one is the best one for you?
Right.
We've seen cases where people have a very small amount and they end up doing proposal when their problem could have been better fixed
Yeah.
if
Hmm.
they had go through a different type of strategy. There's different strategies, Gamani.
Right. So what you're trying to say, if person is independent and he can come up with the best solution for client's need, and if somebody only having the license to go for the bankruptcy, that is where that they will take them, right? That's what we are trying to explain.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
explaining. Yeah, that's what I'm explaining.
Right.
When someone could take a
Mm-hmm.
look at your overall picture,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have different strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and then we could say, because sometimes proposal might be the very last strategy you wanted to go to. Is if you look at all the strategies
Right.
and that might be the only one,
Mhm.
But there could have been a strategy prior to that that worked out better for you. There's different debt strategies that we really help families. I've personally helped families with debt strategies that help them clear debt.
Okay, so I think for that need expert advice for sure, right? So that's why I think holistic approach is always better.
Yes, always better. It's the best. It's the best approach.
Yeah, I know you have a lot of knowledge in this subject and you're helping so many people, right? And many people might need advice from a person like you. And I think if somebody need more information and how they are you able to help them and advise them or give some education? How can they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, on here you'll see my phone number.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best way to reach me. It's my cell phone number. And you could call me. If you don't get me, you can leave me a message. I'll always get back to you. And I could share with you most of these strategies. One of the strategies, Gamani, that I've helped lots of families implement, it's a strategy that we call the debt snowball strategy.
Yeah.
And I really sit down with families and I really look over their situation, list everything down, and show them on a simple step-by-step approach and how they could use that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have used that strategy. As a matter of fact, I just recently got a call from one of my clients, Gamani,
Mm-hmm.
that say, "Hey, Omar, I have one more payment on my debt strategy, and I will be completely debt free." Now, this is many families that we've helped in through these different strategies. So, if anyone want to reach out to me, this is my number on the screen, and I get you. I experience all those things, Gamani.
Mm-hmm.
I was in debt. I've paid a lot of out in interest. I feel the stress, the debt
Mm-hmm.
stress. I feel the tightness of it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel the worrisome of the debt. I've received collections calls.
Right.
I've seen my credit go up and down. So I get where families are coming from, and that's why I want to help people to not have that feeling.
It's amazing. So you experience, so you know how to come out of that and help other people to come out from that as well. Now, do you think that this kind of education will ever come to our curriculum, and then kids will learn in the school? Do you think that they will teach? Why they don't teach these things?
Okay, well, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
You run a building,
Mhm.
and the way you make money in that building
Mhm.
is if people come to you
Mhm.
and borrow money from you.
Yes.
What will you teach everybody not to come to you and get money?
Yes. Yeah. You answer the question, right? Yeah.
So we probably won't see it, just
Mhm.
because if more people understand
Mhm.
about debt management, coming out of debt, having a debt-free mind,
Mhm.
then the less they're gonna depend on borrowing money,
Mhm.
and then the institutions that depend on us borrowing money,
Mhm.
we won't be borrowing money from them. So what is the incentive to teach you what to do when the lesson is gonna take more from them? They're gonna get less. Does that make sense? If
Yes.
I'm gonna teach you something, Gamani, it's gonna probably should work out in our favor too, right?
Yes. So they make 19%, 21% doing nothing, right? Just lending and making money. So why they want to teach other people?
There shouldn't be an incentive. It's kind of like you could teach me, Gamani. Let me ask you, you're a real estate
Yeah.
advisor.
Yeah.
Would you teach me how to get a house for free?
I mean, immediately if somebody want to buy a house, I will help them to become a homeowner for sure. But I get your point.
Yes.
Yes. Now, yeah. So Omar's number is here. You can contact him. He's a very nice person and he's very approachable. He's helping people. And thank you very much. Come and educate the audience, and they will really love it. And they will contact if they need more information. Hey, you have ton of knowledge. So can I come back to you again for a different topic? And Is it okay that if I call you again?
Absolutely. We there's so much different things that I want to help.
Right.
I want to give,
Mhm.
like I said, Gamani, I know the pains.
Right.
I've experienced almost all of them.
Mhm.
I've experienced a lack of money, overspending money. I've
Mhm.
experienced no investments.
Mhm.
So any topic you like for me to touch on, I would love to share with your audience so they could gain from my knowledge.
Mhm.
They could pick my brain,
Yes.
and hey, we want to empower more people.
Thank you very much, Oma. I really appreciate, and I know that you have a busy schedule, and I will come back to you again for another topic.
Thank
Thank
you
you very
so much,
much. Thank you.
Amani. Thank you so much.